6:42, and this is 1320 WILS. We have had we've had some very serious weather that just moved through the area, but next week is actually going to be Severe Weather Awareness Week. The governor here proclaiming that to be such. But what do you do? Well, what do you do if your house is actually damaged by the severe winds? What if your car gets completely demolished with big hail, which we're anticipating? Well, let's talk to Alec Stewart, insurance industry expert. It's eagleinsured.com. Alec, great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you're down there in Texas. Did you guys get any of this crazy weather?
Oh, yes, sir. We get all kinds of hail and tornadoes and rising water. I mean, everywhere.
And when you talk about being insured, when you get home insurance, I mean, does it cover trees falling on your house and all the basic things that can occur in these storms?
I mean, the big thing I always recommend people to do is to have an independent agent evaluate their care, their coverage, and their premium, because all the carriers have different policies and different policy forms and coverages. Mm-hmm. And captive carriers and agents are only able to provide one product. And that one product may not be a one-size-fits-all solution for the individual customer.
Is it captive versus independent? Is that what it is?
Yes, sir. So all State Farmers, State Farm, being captive carriers and having captive agents are only able to offer their own product.
Okay.
Whereas an independent agent is unbiased and represents however many carriers they represent, in our case, between 30 and 40.
Okay. Now, if you don't have time to read through all the details and you assume you're covered, I mean, are there things that people might be surprised that they won't be covered on? Let's say if you are affected by high winds or a serious storm?
Absolutely. The big ticket items that I always recommend people to think about are seepage and leakage coverage. Pipes that may be leaking behind their walls or under their house. Double check foundation coverage. On the auto side, definitely double check and look at getting limits that are higher than the minimum state limits that don't often cover a more serious type accident.
Okay.
And then the big ticket item is really double check and understand how their deductibles work, because sometimes they don't realize that as they renew, their deductible may have gone up, and if they were to have a roof claim or they were to have a property claim on their home, they may be paying some serious money out of pocket.
What kind of deductible numbers have you seen?
Well, what we're seeing down here in Texas and across the country as well is deductibles have risen, and in some cases they've gone from 1% to 2%.
Okay, like so what? Let's say a tree falls, demolishes your roof. What kind of deductible could you be looking at?
Well, for instance, a 1% deductible, if your home were insured for $100,000, a 1% deductible would be $1,000.
Okay.
If they raised it to a 2% deductible, then you would be paying $2,000 instead of $1,000.
Gotcha. Some of these repairs can cost tens of thousands, can't they?
Absolutely, especially roofs. I mean, roofs are the big ticket item if you have hail or high wind.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, going back to the independent side, I mean, there are some carriers that even now offer a combined deductible, so that if you do have a catastrophic issue, for instance, Met, you can combine all your deductibles into one, and so you're not getting dinged and dinged and dinged for multiple occurrences that happen.
So once you pay the initial deductible, everything else is covered?
Right. They combine all the deductibles into one.
What if your neighbor's tree falls on your house? What happens then?
It's all that, again, going back to the independent agent model and the relationship that the agent has with the carrier, it's always, a gray area as far as when did it happen, was the tree alive or dead?
But are they typically, is it their insurance or yours is going to pay for that?
Well, typically what we would advise our client to do is to go to the neighbor and say, we would appreciate you filing this, but if they didn't, then we would work through it with their own carrier and let them know what had happened, and if the carrier decided that, in fact, it was the neighbor's fault, they would go to the neighbor's carrier themselves.
Now, flooding, that is almost never covered, is that right?
That's right, and especially, people need to be very wary of whether they're in a FEMA-designated floodplain or not, because if they are, they absolutely need to get a specialized flood policy, and, then people that aren't even in the floodplain may want to look at a flood policy.
That's different than seepage and leakage, though, right?
Absolutely. Seepage and leakage would typically be you've got a pipe in one of your walls. It's just gently seeping water over a period of time. You have no way to know about it, and it causes a severe amount of damage.
Gotcha. That typically is or is not covered?
And a bunch of policies, it is not. It's either added by endorsement, you have to ask for it, or you have to get a specialized policy, get a homeowner's policy that actually covers that.
Well, it's all great information. Alec Stewart, insurance industry expert, EagleInsured.com. He's down there in Texas, but really understands this nationwide. Alec, great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.